All right, so special meeting for Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019. Call the meeting to order. Mr. Peacock, can you call roll call?
Board President Robert Smallstreet. Board Vice President Chris Morales.
Here.
Board Secretary Robert Peacock. Here. Board Trustee Fernando Torres.
Here.
Board Trustee Juan J. Ibarra. Board Trustee Tony Basso.
Here.
Board Trustee Rolando Lozano. Board Vice President, we have a quorum.
Let the record show that quorum board members is present, that this meeting will be duly called, and that the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Will you please lead us in the pledge, Mr. Torres?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Rocha, will you
Heavenly Father, today we thank you for the opportunity to come together for this beautiful day that you've given us. We ask that you continue to guide our Board of Trustees and Mr. Cavazos as they make those very important and critical decisions for the betterment of our students. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name, and we say amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Item number 3, we have discussion and action items. Item A, we have authorized administrators to approve and negotiate contract with architect for Ibarra renovation project. Presenter, Mr. Ronald Cavazos.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, I've asked the administration to look into trying to procure an architect for the renovation of Ibarra Fine Arts Academy. And we have before us today Eli Ochoa, an architect here from the Valley. We've asked Mr. Ochoa to give us some ideas about how we can approach this project and how we can get this done quickly. I think he has a lot of the resources, background, experience that we need to try to get this project done as efficiently as possible. And if he doesn't mind, I'm going to ask if Mr. Ochoa can come up and talk to the board about this. Is that okay? Mr. Ochoa?
If the board's okay with it, yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Cavazos, is there anything in particular that you would like for me to address?
I really would like to talk about the procurement process. That's the one that concerns me. I just want to make sure that we're all clear, that we all understand what the process is going to be for contracting the services to repair that school and get it where we need to.
Okay, the contracting for architectural services?
Yes.
Or?
Architectural services and construction.
And the CM?
Yeah, the
Construction
CMAR.
Manager. Sure, I'll be more than happy to discuss that with you. As Mr. Cavazos stated earlier, I was called to come and look and see at the existing Ibarra High School and kind of offer up some ideas or some suggestions on how that could be accomplished before the start of the next school year. We just discussed really trying to outline the scope of work that we could then recommend to the board that they go with the construction manager at risk, and then have the construction manager at risk provide a very short pre-construction services, which is allowed under the statute, and then have the construction manager work with the architect, work with the owner, do a complete tour of the school, make sure that all the expectations that are expected and hopeful on the side of the owner, being y'all, would all be able to be very quantifiably addressed, and then have the scope of work be finalized, have the construction manager issue a guaranteed maximum price. It could all be done relatively quickly. This is a project that needs to be done, that needs to move quickly in order to be completed by the next school year. And then hopeful that the guaranteed maximum price meets what y'all's budget would be, and then hopefully move forward from there, get this work done. It's primarily a lot of maintenance type issues that need to be taken care of. There are a few items that relate architecturally, kind of around some of the windows, things of that nature, cleaning, really fixing the doors, refinishing doors, getting them hung. You know, those doors are part of the means of egress, which are required under the International Building Code. Make sure everything is resolved, and then hopefully get this project done sometime in July. And we feel that that's very doable. We are kind of on a time crunch, and the idea is we need to move quickly in order to get that done so that you can have the school opened and be ready for school by January.
Okay, Mr. Ochoa.
I guess, I've got questions, but I think I should probably wait for them. But I guess my biggest thing is obviously the money, the amount. I guess once we understand what we're dealing with, because I know that you guys can build and destroy within 24 hours if the money's there.
You're exactly correct. And one of the reasons why we recommended the construction manager at risk, well, actually two of the reasons why we would recommend it. Number one, it's the quickest speed to market, so you can get out and start working right away. But even before that happens, is there would be a price, a guaranteed maximum price, which would need to be accepted, obviously, by the board before you even move forward. And that could come relatively quickly. And in the interest of time, that was a reason why we recommended a construction manager at risk. It also gives the owner the opportunity to say, no, hold up, that's not how much money we wanted to spend on this project. And then you wouldn't be out a whole lot of money. Rather than the old traditional design bid build, you'd hire the architect, all the work gets done, then you have to go through an entire procurement process. By the time that would occur, you're easily 4 months, 5 months down the road before you even put the project out for bid. And the whole idea was, and the whole strategy for going the direction that we were recommending, is to be able to get the project done in time. Now, certainly understand that there's a lot of responsibility on y'all's part, and if for whatever reason you do choose not to go this route, it's going to be really difficult to get the school open for the next school year. That's not a knock on anything. That's just that. I mean, that's kind of the reality from a time perspective, and so the decision's y'all's. And however y'all wish to proceed, we're willing to help in any way, shape, or form that y'all may want to go. And then the other thing is we're here to advise. You also have your legal counsel. There's a lot of things that go back and forth as it relates to procurement and things of that nature. And we'll be more than happy to work with your counsel, legal counsel, on that.
Mr. Chairman, if we can real quick, and I know there might be some questions on the legalities of this, if we can go into closed session for a couple of minutes just so we could get those legal questions out of the way and we can come back where everybody feels comfortable moving forward or whatever action they may want to take. But if we can go into closed session really quick for a couple of minutes.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we move to, we're not tabling this, we're just holding it for...
Yes, we're going into closed session to receive legal advice on items A and B.
All right. Stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ochoa. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The time now is 7:53. Superintendent requests that the Board of Trustees convene in closed meeting as authorized by the provision of Open Meetings Act. This executive session is in accordance with 551.071, 72, 73, 74, 76, 8283. I gotta say it, right? Just gotta make sure.
8:07.
It is 8:07, and we are back from closed session. Mr. Cavazos,
We're back on item A.
item A.
The administration would like to request approval to negotiate a contract with the firm of ERO for the first phase of the Ibarra Fine Arts Academy project, which would entail getting the school ready for opening in August, making sure that we have the project ready and done, and then just to take care of that first phase, get the school where it needs to be to bring in our sixth graders, and then after our bond election in May, we would try to see if we could go into the next two phases, because there'd be two other parts to this project that we would need to take care of. But I'd like to ask for the board to approve the administration to negotiate into a contract with ERO.
I move that we approve the recommendation of Mr. Cavazos.
Second.
The motion has been moved by Mr. Barco, second by Mr. Torres. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Do we need to discuss anything on item B?
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Ochoa. So, given that recommendation from the superintendent to request the board permission to negotiate a contract for the first phase only of this project,
Right.
do we need a CMAR right now for that phase to include that scope of work? Would a CMAR be necessary?
We have about 4 months if we take basically what's left of April, May, June, and July. And it would be nice to get the CMAR on as quickly as possible, because part of the speed to market and trying to get it ready within the 4 months is to have the CMAR on board as we're actually doing and working on the project and setting up the scope of work. My recommendation is let's get the CMAR on board as quickly as we can. He's going to issue a guaranteed maximum price. So,
But I guess try to. It's been a long day, so let me try to, I guess, ask the question more clearly. So the board is only allowing us to negotiate a contract with you with respect to the cleanup and the minor construction that we need to get the school open in August.
Right.
We don't have any permission to do with anything after that until the results of the bond election are final. At that time, then the board would have to come back and take further action.
Sure.
So if we were to go out my question is, if we were to go out to bid for a construction manager at risk right now, it would only be for the first phase.
that's correct. Just
Do we need a CMAR for the first phase?
Well, here's where this is the reason why, at least from my perspective, it would behoove the district, is as we are finalizing the scope of work, we can already be walking the project with the construction manager at risk. He will be familiar from our pre-construction work. He'll be familiar that he can almost give you a guaranteed maximum price before we even finish the documentation for the project. If we were to do the work under the traditional bid, design bid build, we'd have to probably take, I'm going to say 4 weeks probably to get all the contract done, all the documentation done. Then you have to advertise. So by the time you advertise, it's going to take at least another 3 weeks at that point. Then you have to get the contract approved, probably another week.
So if the board approves the item B, when you prepare the construction documents, what's going to be the scope that we bid out for the CMAR?
What we would do is we would immediately start working on defining the scope of work in written form. We can issue that definition of scope of work to a CMAR.
Yeah.
We can't do it through a bid process at that point. So the CMAR can start taking that information and start getting pricing done before we even finish the documentation. So that about the time that we're finishing the documentation, before we even finish the documentation, he will probably already be able to give you a guaranteed maximum price on what he's going to charge to get the work done.
So
that allows you an opportunity to say yes or no, and it can be done rather quickly, as opposed to waiting all the timeline that you have to go through when you go the traditional
Okay,
route.
so then in May, we have a bond election, and then say the results are in the positive and it passes. At that point in time, we'd have to come back and hire an architect for that scope of work for this project.
For the next
Yes.
scope of work.
For the
Right.
next scope of work, and then bid out the CMAR again? Because we only have permission to talk about phase one, so that's
Right,
what I'm trying to
yes.
ask.
And that,
So
and
do
what
we
I'm
need a
trying to.
CMAR right now for
Right,
that?
what I'm trying to do is get the CMAR on, look, frankly, it's kind of weird that you would go with a CMAR for such a small, limited scope of work.
That's what
Okay?
I'm asking.
No, it is. The only reason why I'm suggesting it is because of the time limit. Because when you have to go through all the procurement processes and you have to wait, you'd have to come back, approve the scope of work, approve the drawings, issue them out for bid. By the time you advertise, you get all the other things done instead of them running concurrently.
Okay.
And that's the only reason is instead of, if this was a continuum of time, instead of waiting for this work before you can even start this work, these can kind of start overlapping. And that's the reason, the only reason why I would say a CMAR on this would work. I mean, it frankly, that's a very good question, and it's a very good analysis because it's kind of weird that you would go with a
So then we
CMAR
need to
for this work, but it's a
Modify
time.
Mr. Barco's, I'm sorry.
No, we haven't made a motion yet. But do you have a copy of the matrix? By any chance?
I can produce one. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think it
copy?
was,
I have a copy.
I think,
Can we show it to the board real quick? Because that's going to be for their approval too, so they could just see it real quick.
and a lot of that matrix comes straight from the statute.
Bobby looks lonely.
Yo sé, todo solito. What's about?
What's that? Yeah, so that's just why I'm asking, because of the
Well, no, I
the
mean,
way it's broken up.
frankly, is a good question because normally you wouldn't do that, but it's only because of the time crunch.
Yeah,
That's the only reason.
well, you're the expert. I just wanted to be on the same page on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want y'all to get a quick look at the matrix to see if you're okay with it, the ranking matrix. You don't have like something that we can put up there? You have a document?
have an overhead, Joe? The camera?
I see a document camera right there. I was gonna go line by line.
Yeah.
How much is on the price?
So we hope everything works.
Ay, well.
So going based on experience, it has the most, well, references and experience are the two highest ones.
Yeah,
That's pretty fair. It's not just on price.
that's fine.
You guys go with?
No.
All the percentages of the price.
Okay, no.
Yes, it's broken up to where you would rank based on 100 as the score. And it's basically a CMAR's, the capacity of the CMAR to do the work. Number two, the qualifications and experience of the CMAR and having done that kind of work. Representative that they've done CMAR work before, or at least a design build. Ability to establish budgets, cost control, past project experience. This was actually a selection criteria that was for a $25 million project. So some of these things might be able to be taken out. What we basically did here is the statute, the laws that the state has given political subdivisions an opportunity to do assessments. They've outlined kind of what are some of the things that a district can ask for, or an owner can ask for. And so we were just kind of following the guideline that was straight in the statute. And you can choose to do it this way. It, as Mr. Castillo said, I mean, it's a relatively small scope of work, a very small scope of work. And so some of the matrix, we can kind of ferret it out to give up people opportunity to be able to come after it. So it can be modified. One thing though is for the board has to approve, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Castillo, but the board has to approve the actual point system that the owners going to use.
I want them to see it, and
yes.
if the board's okay with this, then I would advise that y'all approve that.
I don't have an issue with it.
What's that? You don't have an issue?
I don't have an issue. Do you guys?
You have an issue with it?
Okay, so I advise that the board follow the architect's recommendation to go with the CMAR contracting method and to approve the matrix as presented.
Slow move.
Second.
The motion has been moved. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
And we're going with the one-step process, just for the record. RFP.
Anything else? We have any other items? That was it, right?
No, sir. We have no items for discussion in executive session. Any further items?
Okay, so move for adjournment.
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Barcos, second by Mr. Ana Torres. Time is 8:19.